Greetings and good evening. I'm coming to you from Atlanta, Georgia, and I'm coming on here to address some of the comments are made from the video I made for Pooxm and what was the most asked question, what was the most familiar comments were, why is this math relevant to my life today? And why should I learn this new math if it is not going to benefit my daily life? It's a valid question. Here's my answer. I made Pooxm for a couple of reasons. The first reason was to reconcile how we were taught how to multiply negative numbers and how to address a negative multiplier. In the book, I address specifically how to multiply two negative numbers. I know when we was taught in school, particularly in middle school and junior high, that when you multiply two negative numbers, it's a positive. And that is true, but it's not as positive as we were led to believe. The way we were taught to multiply negative numbers, we were told to replace the negative signs with positive signs and then multiply. Now, some teachers might have other renditions that they did the same thing eventually. They eliminate the negative sign and just multiply. And that's how they came up with a positive number. I've come to realize that that was an error because they never dealt with the equation as it stands. A quick story. When I was in school, we had a substitute teacher in math, and we was going over a multiplication of negative numbers. In this case, it was the subtitle of my book, -3 times a -4. The teacher asked, who can tell me what -3 times a -4 is? I raised my hand. I gave her my answer of a +6. I said +6, actually. She said not quite. She went to another student. Student gave the answer for +12. Based on what we were taught, she was get credit for answering it correctly. She came back to me. She says, do you understand why it is a +12? And I replied, no, ma'am. I believe it's a +6. Of course, the kids in the class are, they're reacting, they're laughing, they're joking, they're making fun of me. And the students in the class are familiar with what type of student I am. The substitute teacher does not know. She doesn't have a history. She doesn't know that I'm a very well-behaved student, and pretty much the teacher who regularly teaches the class understands who I am, and she knows how to, for lack of a better word, know how to handle me. So in that discovery, she tries to get control of a class by having me to come up with a board. She says, well, if you want to just get with +6, come up to the board and tell us how you get to arrive at this answer. Show me how you come to this answer. So I went up to the board and I told her that since the multiplier is a negative number, it is a function of subtracting and not addition. So what I did is I subtracted the -3 4 times. -3 minus a -3 minus a -3 minus a -3, and I come up with +6. As I'm putting in the board, and then I look at her, I notice that she's looking at the board. She's not looking at me. She's looking at the board, and for some reason, I didn't recognize it when I was a student. It was her aha moment. She probably realized that maybe I was on to something, that I found something, that we've probably been doing this in error. But how can she reconcile hundreds of years of doing it in the manner that she was taught to teach it? So what she did is, in a few moments after it, she stops looking at the board. She goes to the erase and starts erasing the answer that I put up there slowly and asks me to return back to my seat. I returned back to my seat, and I realized at that moment that I didn't want to be a problem. So I just choked it up and let her have the day. I never really reconciled that moment in school because I always felt that I was right. And I dealt it in my adulthood, and I finally dealt with it by putting out the book. And I did. I wrote the book, Pooxm. It's available at Pooxm, Pooxm.com. If you, and for people who've never seen the first video, the website is Pooxm.com. There's a link that you can click. You can go to the publisher where I published it at, and you can read for yourself the why I come up with this book and why I come up with this method. To answer the question of the comments, why is this math relevant to me today? We've been taught a behavior that it overlapped into our daily lives. We were taught how to replace the negatives with a positive, even though it's not dealing with the negative in our life. We were told to pretend that the negatives are positives. And this is true in dealing with this math, and it's true in dealing with stuff in our lives. And I believe that if you learn this math, you will start dealing with the negatives in your mind in the manner that it should be handled. Subtracting those negatives from your life instead of pretending they're positives and then multiplying them. That's what you get out the book. Another thing is that I remember a interview that Neil deGrasse Tyson gave on Joe Rogan, where he said, and on the other interviews that he said, and he's always made the same statement: we failed. We taught our kids how to memorize and how to just learn the subject at hand. What we failed to do for our students, we failed to teach them how to think, how to experiment, how to prophesy, how to reconcile what we're learning, what we're being taught. And I agree with Neil deGrasse Tyson that we need to learn how to think. We need to learn how to adopt this skill, is that if things are being taught to us, we need to learn how to reconcile those things that are being taught to us and let it play out and show us in real life how this works out and how this shows in real life and give us examples. And that's what my book does. My book is that student doing that very thing, thinking. And to Neil deGrasse Tyson's point is that you got a bunch of kids who are A students, not because they are the thinkers of the class, but they follow instructions very well. They are great learners. They regurgitate and memorize what they've been taught. Now, you might have some outliers, and the A+ students who do think, who do reconcile. The Sheldons of the world. As I say, if you're a Big Bang Theory, you won't get that unless you watch Big Bang Theory or Young Sheldon. You wouldn't get that scenario, but I guess you can check it out. But again, the idea behind the math, the purpose behind the math, is to reconcile what we was taught in school, so that you can, if you have children or if you have young ones that you're responsible for, and I'm saying this to mothers and fathers and teachers as well, that I would ask that you consider reteaching it and picking up the book and learning it and then teaching this to your students. Again, I want to make this declaration to podcasters out there who have reached out to be on the show so I can come and talk about the book, and I can talk about what I deem one of the biggest discoveries of the century and in history. I believe if you're the first podcaster to bring me on, your viewership is going to go up. You're going to establish yourself that you were the podcaster who put one of the biggest discoveries on your podcast and unveil it to the viewers of the world. And I await that invite. And I'm willing to come on and talk about the book and talk about this math theory with you all and clarify it. Also, to my math community, who I have great respect for, and even though they are trying to debunk me in using a highly skilled mathematician, regarded mathematician, on his masterclass, trying to address my theory on his masterclass. His name is Terrence Tao. He's trying to address my theory of the negative of multiplying two negative numbers, and I am willing to go chalkboard to chalkboard with Terrence Tao to explain him my math. Now, I'm not a highly skilled mathematician. I'm not a highly regarded mathematician. I don't have a PhD. I don't have a master's. Don't even have a bachelor's. But I stand by my math. And I'm willing to take my math to the chalkboard or blackboard or a whiteboard, any board that you choose, to explain the theory and the logic behind my math. Again, you can get my book at Pooxm, Pooxm.com. I'm very confident that people who are viewing this video, that you are smart enough and you are intelligent and that you will get the math. Again, it is, I think it will be important in your lives. I think it will add to your lives. I think it will be a great supplement to your lives. And you won't regret making this purchase. Again, it's Pooxm.com. Again, I hope this addresses the comments. Please come back and on YouTube, my videos on YouTube. Please come and make your comments. Please like the comments. Please like the videos, so we can bring more videos on here. Again, thank you for taking the time to check me out. Check out this podcast, my version of a podcast. And I'll see you in the education community. Thank you so much. And again, like the young folks says, this math is mathing.